Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about the development of the series overall. What really inspired you both to work together to create the series, and how did it come about?
Gotcha.
Don and I were approached by our friends at Lightbox, Jonathan and Simon Chin, and the great James Marsh, about re-examining the life and legacy of Phil Spector. And what interested us about it was why Phil and why now. I think a lot has been said about Phil, but certainly we have not examined his life through a post Me Too lens. And we were able to contextualize some of his behavior and ask the question about how artistic genius is often used as an excuse for mental illness. And at a time when we're watching Kanye West lose fans and endorsements because of his behavior, you wonder what would have happened if Phil and Lana and their story had happened today rather than in 2003. And I think it was important for us to bring Lana Clarkson back to life as a character, and to get to know her and make sure that she was more than just a footnote in the Phil Spector story. And it was a wonderful chance to do this kind of true crime meets rock doc, and really bring the victim back to life as well.
I also wanted to ask about, I saw that you directed episodes together and what that experience was like, and once production began on the series to really work as co-directors as well.
Yeah, Sheena and I have been, we've been together for as a company for 20 years. It's coming up on 20 years. And, we started out where Sheena produced and I directed, and we did that for the first couple films that we worked on together. And then, I think it was in 2012, we co-directed a doc feature called The Atomic States of America. And we've kind of moved forward as co-directors in certain projects, and then other projects that we'll go back to me directing or Sheena producing. But I think a lot of times, because we are, we spend so much time together and we've worked with each other for so long. I think that a project like this really benefited from having kind of like two points of view, like the male-female perspective, specifically here. Not that I was on the Phil Spector side and Sheena was on the Lana Clarkson side, but I think it helped. Certainly a project like this, and Sheena's sensibility as a woman and a woman in this industry, and seeing, I think, a lot of a lot of things in Lana's life that are similar to how women in the entertainment industry have to exist. And it's difficult. It's very difficult. It's very, very much a male dominated industry. And I think it was important to have Sheena's sensibility as a woman, because she brought she just has a handle on things from her perspective that I probably wouldn't think of, but once she says it, it's very obvious, and it's like, well, duh, yeah, that makes sense. But it's not, because I'm a man that lives in this world and is certainly empathetic, and I try to be empathetic to other people's issues. You can only really exist and tell stories from places that and understand. So I think on this particular project, I think having us as co-directors was a real benefit to what we ended up pulling off in the series.
What kind of research did you both do into both Phil and Lana's life before the murder, and really figuring out what happened in both their personal and professional lives, and what was that experience like for you both to delve into that as well?
it was challenging, but we're very proud of the fact that we got both the Spector family and the Clarkson family's participation. So we really did get to know Phil and Lana from the people who knew and loved them the best. We were able to get the participation of both the prosecution and the defense. We have the lead detectives in the series. So, you know, we spoke to everyone who would speak to us. We watched hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of trial footage, read transcripts, listened to interviews, interrogations, every piece of archival out there. I think we've seen. It was a very research heavy, far-reaching project for us, and I'm really proud of what we were able to accomplish.
Definitely.
And speaking of the fact that you have people from both sides, like the prosecutors and their families and friends and colleagues in the series as well, and doing interviews with them, and I was about to ask about that experience and having them come on board the series and deciding what you wanted to speak with them about and what that experience was like overall, just doing the interviews with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great when you're doing a project like this, when you have your two key subjects that are no longer with you. You know, you have to be able to piece it together from the people that or know the story and know the people. And I think, you know, obviously, you know, projects like this are crucial because in getting, you know, kind of the key players, because that's really where you can, you know, get into storytelling and getting into like what happened that night, getting to talk to the lead detectives who were there, who lived it for a number of years, or, you know, have all their experiences that they haven't really shared and no one's given an opportunity for them to share it. So I think it was great to be able to speak to both the lead detectives, who were both very candid. And I think because they were both recently retired from LAPD, they could speak more freely, which is always the best situation that you can be in when you're talking to people, that they're not holding back, or they're not, you know, they're not bound to, you know, they can't say something because of whatever reason. They were very open and honest, and you know, I think that just lends and you know, more, you know, intimacy into like what the story is and how much detail that we can get into. And yeah, it was incredible to get to speak to all these people that knew Phil, that knew Lana, that knew about the case, because it's really you know, that at the end of the day, that's where, you know, that's how we're piecing the whole puzzle together, you know. So all and normally in projects like this, it's difficult to get both sides, to get the prosecution and the defense, because a lot of times, you know, one party doesn't want to talk to you for various reasons. So I think it always benefits when you can paint a very complete picture of the events, as opposed to a, you know, like one person's version, or, you know, a very specific narrow windows version of events. So
And while I was watching the episodes, I also enjoyed the archival footage that you have, including like the recordings and pictures, and wanted to ask about what that process was like as well to secure that footage and include it in the series as well.
you mean the Lana stuff, or just all?
Just kind of like everything in general, yeah, like all the archival footage in general.
Well, we had Lightbox has an amazing archivist. Her name's Julianne Galdames, and she's incredible. She's one of those people that, like, if you know, she'll like turn over every stone and find, you know, things that no one has ever seen before. She's really, really incredible at her job, and was able to secure such incredible footage that, you know, without it, you know, we would be, you know, it wouldn't be the series that we had. So you know, I think working with the family on the Clarkson side and having Donna on board, obviously we were able to get Lana home movies and photographs that clearly no one has ever seen before. And I think the thing for me that really, because they're acting, you know, when you have clips of her and like in the films Barbarian Queen or Fast Times at Ridgemont High, you know, she's acting, she's playing a part. You get to see who she is, but you know, you don't get a sense of who she is and or her personality. And so for us, getting the stand-up stuff that she started to do later in her career, these kind of, you know, she had a whole stand-up routine, and she's very self-deprecating and she's very funny. And I think for me, that was the moment that was like, wow, she's like, this is who she is. And she came to life, and she's vibrant and she's warm and she's funny. And that was such a great you know, piece to be able to work with, because you could really see who she is. And, you know, having her appear on the talk show with Alan Thicke, you know, you're getting to see her as, you know, Lana, because that I think that is what endears you to her. She's somebody that you know, instantly gravitate towards. She has that light and that energy. And that was amazing to be able to, you know, have that footage to put in the series.
Also, I wanted to talk about the editing process in general and really figuring out how you wanted to edit each episode in the series and what that experience was like, and really figuring out the overall story for the series.
Yeah, well, we outlined the entire series early on, just to kind of generally lay it out, because, you know, we have 4 episodes and you kind of have to, you know, figure out generally what goes where and all that stuff. And then once you get into editing, things move around and you take stuff from the 3rd episode and put it in the 2nd one and vice versa. So it's a lot of juggling, but I think, you know, we needed to really have like a game plan to start out, because, you know, 4 episodes it's a big undertaking to tell that much story. So you know, we wanted to lay it out. And I would say, if I had to look back, and it's been a minute, but, you know, I think our initial outline, you know, clearly things changed, but I think our initial kind of like overall approach to this didn't really, we were able to accomplish it, you know, in the final, in what ended up being the final product. Clearly, again, things shifted around and there was things that weren't in the original outline, but I think for the most part, we had a really good handle on how the story was going to progress and how we were going to move through, you know, Phil's career and introduce Lana and then get into the trial. I mean, there's a lot to juggle to keep it interesting and keep it moving. And that's always the hardest thing with these like long form series, is like, how much detail is too much detail. Clearly you're afforded time to get in the weeds and like get into the minutia detail. But you still have to kind of keep it moving. It can't go off the rails. It can't get tangential. So, you know, I think that was the editing a project like this, you know, especially the way that we did it, which we did some here in Philadelphia, we did some in Los Angeles remotely. So it was a lot to juggle. Wouldn't recommend doing it as a, you know, the way I want to work moving forward all the time. But I think we made it work. Made it work.
And now with the series premiering on Showtime, what was that experience like as well, and securing that distribution and getting to work with Showtime to premiere the episodes as well?
Showtime was on board when we came on board, so we were very lucky to be able to collaborate with them from the beginning, and it's been a wonderful experience working with Showtime and Lightbox and James Marsh, and we feel fortunate to have a great team behind us to try and, you know, make the best series we could.
Yeah, and it's great to, you know, have a series that, I think what's nice about Showtime is they really, you know, can get behind. They're not putting like 70 documentaries out, you know, a month, so they can really, you know, take their time and like get behind promoting and getting the word out. And you know, so far the response has been really great. So we're very happy.
Okay, I think that was mainly it, but thank you both again for taking the time out today to speak with me. I appreciate it.
course.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Thanks again.